Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hope you're doing well. I want you to think about how sick the mind is of a person who wants to turn someone's daughter into a filthy, used up sex worker. And then that same individual will then go around slandering the same type of women he created. What's even more bizarre is the fans of Andrew Tate, people like him and other pimps in general, that mindset of pimping. They will call divorced women used up, toxic waste, they're only good for a no strings nikah, so just fuck them and leave them. Use them up, fuck them once a week on a Friday in a hotel, and then ditch them when you're done. If they get pregnant, fuck it. If they get an abortion, who cares? Because you knew what you were signing up for as a woman when you had a no-strings marriage. And sure, in theory, you can ask for your rights back, but in reality, you knew the arrangement was a sort of Tinder Muslim app. And now, you're just a used-up, passed-around, no-strings whore who got a bunch of fake marriages, and now no legitimate man wants you. So the same guys who will make every excuse for Andrew Tate, give him time, all the excuses. That was before, this and that. They'll rail against women who simply want to go to college or who want to have a part-time job for legitimate reasons because they have fears because they came from a dysfunctional home, or they want to escape poverty, or they want to get out of an abusive relationship, and in reality there's no one there for them. They'll criticize those women for seeking something noble like education, but they won't criticize Andrew Tate after his conversion saying OnlyFans is okay. Sure, now you'll say, oh yes, I condemn that. But when people speak out against him, Muslim or not, the person speaking, if they're Muslim or not, that is, they'll get massive amounts of trolling and insults by his cultish fans. And everyone wants to milk the Andrew Tate views. Sorry, but it's true. If your videos are monetized and you say something pro-Tate, you're getting a nice cash payday. But if you speak out against him and say you don't like his personality, you don't like his ethics, you don't like his philosophy, you don't like his business dealings, you don't like how he promotes his business, you don't like his business advice, anything you say against him, they go completely nuts. And if you're a woman, God help you, because they'll call you a feminist with zero evidence. So to them, any woman who doesn't automatically love a casino fleshmonger, well, now you're a feminist. So to them, a good Muslim woman defends a man who has gotten women to sell their holes online. So for them, a good Muslim woman protects and loves and will never speak out against a man who got women to shove plastic up their anus, who got a man to have married men send their money to him so that they could look at a pair of tits and cheat on their wives. There are endless, well-edited, well-formatted videos highlighting videos that Tate has made and released himself, where his bad behavior, his bad morals, before and after his conversion to Islam, and fully in context. But you'll still see these Muslims, these red pill Muslims, say, defend your brother. What's interesting is a lot of people accuse Muslims that they would never turn in one of their fellows because in Islam you're supposed to protect your Muslim brother at all costs and always side with him against the kuffar, even if he's guilty. And if you look at some of these cult Tate fans, you can see that insult is actually accurate, I think. Because people are upset about grooming gangs, about problems that are in the Muslim community, and that they say the Muslims don't really address it, and they don't report it, they don't call it out enough. And at first I didn't believe it. Some of it I don't all believe. But when you see how the men defend Andrew Tate way harder than they ever would defend a woman, you have to kind of get a bit shocked and say this is pretty scary. Because he has said things before and after Islam that are quite intense, that if a woman said that, she'd be grilled, have death threats, she'd be hacked, she'd be stalked, she would be chased out of town in every way possible. And this, to me, just proves my point. Just proves my point. And what's really sad, too, is that you have people who've never experienced sexual violence or never loved someone who had experienced that. They've never had to seek justice for something that has happened. They don't work with trafficking victims. They don't try to help women stop stripping. They don't try to help women escape pimps. They never had to argue with a pimp. They never lost anyone to a pimp. And then they are sitting there as keyboard warriors trying to tell people who have how it is. The same red pill Muslims, too, will say that a divorced woman has a pattern of behavior is not marriage material. But if you turn around and say that Andrew Tate has a pattern of behavior for sadistic sex, for satanic mind control of women, is highly manipulative, has a slimy, occultic energy, they will say, nope, all sins are forgiven. So if you speak out against his behavior then, and if you call him out now, it's shameful and all your good deeds are gone, blah, 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 blah. I find that to be fascinating. Truly demoralizing. The level of dedication these young men have towards someone who just, in my opinion, is a monster. You know, what's interesting is that I don't have to support someone who's a criminal just because they're Muslim. I don't have to support an arrogant bastard simply because he's Muslim and shares the same religion. I know in the ideal utopia you're always going to get along, but that's just not possible because humans don't always get along. I mean, tons of Muslims have infighting, but now all of a sudden when it comes to Andrew Tate, he's untouchable. You shouldn't call him out. Even when I do soft posts where Andrew Tate is mocking people who read, even when he's mocking people who read, and I write as calmly as I possibly can, with evidences that his fans still get upset. It doesn't matter how soft or how hard you go at Tate. They don't want you to speak against their icon. And then they turn around and say no one worships him. It's not that deep, but actually it is. I don't have to bend the knee to Andrew Tate. Women don't have to bend the knee to him. He is no one. Who is he to tell me what I can and can't talk about? And who are his fans to label me as anything because I don't adopt their icon as my own? No. And then you're saying deep fake audio, but if it was a Palestinian kid getting, beaten down by a Jew, you wouldn't say it's a deep fake. You would say it's true. If there was audio only of a Muslim being tortured in a Chinese concentration camp and the Chinese media said that it was a deep fake, you wouldn't believe it. But now, all of a sudden, because it's supplied, there's audio leaked by WhatsApp by the Romanian government to the public press that Tate has a very sadistic, gross way of speaking to women. Suddenly, that's not a red flag. You can't judge him for that kind of behavior, and it must be fake. And then you have people who are saying even if he's guilty, we should support him in prison. No. Why should I support a monster because he's Muslim? Why should I support a man who got women to masturbate on camera for strangers and get their money? Why should I support a man who was able to have sex with women and tell them, I'm going to cheat on you, I'm going to cheat on you? Why should I do that? With all the abhorrent clips of his sexual dominance and sexual manipulation. Why should I support that? And if you say, we're not telling you to support it, yeah, you are. You're telling me to support him while he's in prison. If he goes to prison for tax evasion, why should I support him in that? He broke the law. Why should I support someone who broke the law? Simply because they said their shahada? Simply because they say they're a Muslim? That's how you get corruption within your faith. That's how you get people led astray when they follow the deviant and they don't follow the noble. I'll support people who are political prisoners. People like Edward Snowden, Julian Assange. These are people who were freedom fighters. They were people who were being persecuted. That's who you should support. Well, I mean, just even though they're not Muslim, but you get my point. I'll support people who are being targeted by the government or something else like that. Not someone who's a sexual deviant, a casino-owning fleshmonger. I don't have to support that. And so many people have leaked audio of his Hustler University telling men to bring their women to strip clubs so they can become bisexual. There's so much raw evidence against him from so many angles, but these red pill Muslims, you guys just refuse to see it simply because he's a Muslim and you like. You're so weak that you like the way he gets to dominate and abuse women. You fantasize about it. You've watched so much pornography secretly, maybe, and you're so cucked that you live through him and it makes you feel powerful and you like that little echo chamber community online. It's fine. I'll get a bunch of insults. I'll get told all kinds of things, but I'm pretty much used to it now. There's always something that everyone targets me for. Things I don't even realize sometimes, like, wow, that's what's a problem? You know? So I find that interesting. Real interesting. I get slack for all kinds of stuff that makes no sense. It only makes sense to Muslims who really have a crusade against me. But I've done less than Tate, but Tate will get all the coverage. So it's not really about truth, about honesty, integrity. It's really just about don't talk about my favorite person. I mean, when it came to Mufti Menck's audio, people said it was him. They didn't say it was a deep fake or a loophole. When Mufti Menck said a couple things, people disowned him entirely. And Mufti Menck has not done half the horrid shit that Andrew Tate has done. And Mufti Menck has done more for Islam than Tate has. But Tate gets more love and protection. People got mad at knitting videos, at the quack, quack, quack stuff. But Tate can say, I'm going to get me a Muslim-ass wife, and if she gets fresh, I'm going to stone her to death. He can talk about chucking rocks and cracking the skull of a Muslim woman, and the red pill Muslim men will defend him. And then people wonder why they think Islam brutalizes women. It's fascinating. Mufti Menck never told women that shoving corn cobs and eggplants and cucumbers and carrots up their ass and selling pictures on OnlyFans is okay. He never did that. Andrew Tate, after his conversion, has, and when you show the evidence with timestamps to these Muslims, they say give him time. You guys are just a bunch of hypocrites. Tate is the Matrix. He's wealthy, he promotes vanity and materialism and the dunya. You can't see it. Others can. And so, if he divides the Ummah, I'll stand on the side that wants something different than what you red pill Muslims want. You go hardcore at women. Hardcore. In the most brutal way possible. More brutal than any group I've ever seen. But when it comes to Tate, he is this sort of golden calf of you. And you refuse to say it. You refuse to see it. But it's fascinating how others can. I have watched a lot of Andrew Tate content. I have fully digested his character. I never judged someone before fully hearing them out, and I have heard him out. Even sat through that ridiculous 4-hour podcast he did with PBR or PBD or the guy who wears the suit, whatever. Some PB something. But I sat through that. And everyone who knows me knows that I always read things and investigate things fully before really giving my opinion on that individual. And I've always in so many videos told you, don't judge a book you haven't read, don't judge a scholar you haven't read, yada yada. I've done that with Tate, and I don't like who he is as a person. And no, I'm not a feminist simply because I really find the way he carries himself, what he promotes, what he spends his money on, to be utterly abhorrent, repulsive, repugnant, and disgusting. Alright? Really think about the type of personality that wanted to take someone's beautiful baby girl, think about yourself as a mother, holding your baby in your hands, knowing that in the future there might be a man who will help her get gangbanged on camera so she can buy a stupid fucking handbag. Andrew Tate is a pimp. He did it for years. He turned women into the worst versions of themselves. He broke up families. Yes, his sins are forgiven. But what he teaches right now to young men, his swagger, the clips he's most famous for, the clips he doesn't denounce, all that, he's still profiting off of it. His non-Muslim fans love those clips. And they love him for it, and they want to copy him. Make up your minds. The non-Muslims love him for that, and there are some Muslims who secretly like that. They got a little bit of that domination thing in their heart. And if you've never been sexually assaulted, sexually abused by a man, had anyone in your family who was, you haven't seen it, you haven't suffered through it, you don't know what it's like. How those kinds of people really traumatize and break generations of families. It's not something so easy to forgive. Simply because he reminds you of a Grand Theft Auto video game character. But some of you will learn by the statistics. I mean, the amount of women who are pimping themselves and entering the brothel industry and are allowing men to see their most intimate parts and whatnot, it's getting pretty high. And if one of those human traffickers catches your daughter or catches your son and turns him out, you'll sing a different tune. You won't want to sit at the same table with a fleshmonger after you know the corruption they cause in the land and in the world, how the damage they do lasts a lifetime. So spare me. Spare me. Would never be jealous of such a monster.